Good morning, everybody. Welcome to a Tuesday assembly this week. Good morning to those in school and to those at home as well. Today's assembly, I'm going to share a story with you. It's by Monica Clark Robinson, illustrated by Frank Morrison, and it is published by HMH out of Boston in New York, and it is called Let the Children March. It's set in 1963 in a city called Birmingham in the USA in the state of Alabama. And the first page says, I couldn't play on the same playground as the white kids. I couldn't go to their schools. I couldn't drink from their water fountains. There were so many things I couldn't do. And that shows you that this book is written from the perspective of a black child at school in America in the 1960s. And due to something called segregation, they weren't allowed to do all of the same things as their friends who were white. One warm spring night my family went to church. We weren't there to have regular services. We were there to hear Dr. King speak. We were there to plan. Some of you might have heard of Dr. King before. I know we've seen him in assembly before. Martin Luther King. He wanted to raise an army of peaceful protesters to fight for freedom. His brown eyes flashing fire and love, Dr. King told us the time had come to march. If I march, Mama said, I'll lose my job, sure enough. I can't march, Daddy said. I got a family to feed. The weight of the world rested on our parents' shoulders, but this burden, this time, did not have to be theirs to bear. I don't have a boss to fear, my brother said, or a job to lose. We can march this time. We'll be Dr. King's army, I said. I'll be fine, Daddy, I promised. Don't worry, Mama. Dr. King didn't like children being put in harm's way. He was a daddy too, after all. But he said that though we were young, we were not too young to want our freedom. Let the children march. They will lead the way. On May the 2nd, a sunny Thursday, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, we all met at the church, dressed in our best, feet ready. In a silence so loud that all I could hear was my racing heart, we began to walk. Hand in hand we marched, so frightened, yet certain of what was right for freedom. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. Would I be hurt? Would I be heard? Would it all be worth it in the end? I wanted to run from the angry faces in the crowd, run from danger, run from fear. Boys and girls, brothers and sisters, cousins and friends, on and on we marched. We marched, we marched, singing the songs of freedom. 1,000 strong we came. And you can see them holding up placards there saying things like better school now and fair employment. We want jobs. Hate dogged my heels that day, its yellowed canine teeth sharp, but courage walked by my side and kept me going. Disperse or you'll be jailed, the police shouted on the first day. Disperse or you'll get wet, the police shouted the second day. Disperse or we'll release the dogs, the police shouted the third day. We did not disperse. We kept on marching. We wouldn't stop until things started to change. It's very powerful there, isn't it, that all of the protesters who are demonstrating are all huddled together. And the powerful men with the water hose, they're actually standing on the sign that says American Rights. I think that's a really powerful symbol. They're walking all over it. Hundreds of us went to jail on the first day, and even more on the second. My turn wasn't until the third day. After I was sprayed by water stronger than anything I've ever felt, rough hands pushed me forward and I fell to my knees into the police wagon. I was going to jail. Dr. King reassured our parents. "Don't worry about your children," he said. "They're going to be all right. Don't hold them back if they want to go to jail, for they are doing a job for not only themselves, but for all of America and for all of mankind." Just think about that for a moment. Maybe have a chat with your teacher or your parent at home. These children were willing to be sprayed by those hoses and even to go to jail because they believed in something so strongly. What was it that they believed in so strongly? And here's another question for you. Why were the police willing to arrest these people if they were simply holding signs up and walking through the city? That night, crowded into a cell too small for even half of the kids, we sang, "We shall overcome. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me round. Freedom is coming." Our parents couldn't be there with us, but still we sang, wrapped in the proud and loving arms of our ancestors. I was still in jail, but we heard that the next day, and the next, more kids marched. The water hoses they used to sting us could not stop our fierce tide. The path may be long and troubled, but I'm gonna walk on. It's a really powerful use of the word tide there. Tide makes us think of water, doesn't it, and the water hoses that have been sprayed at the protesters. But the author is suggesting that the children are the tide, something strong and powerful and coming towards everybody. Turn the other cheek, we had been taught. Show love where there is hate. The world watched as hate bruised us, but for 7 days we walked only in love. The jails swelled to bursting, and even President Kennedy took notice. Daddy said the president received letters and calls about us from all over the world. Our march would become a memory, a small part of a larger story, but we had been heard, and the seeds of revolution were sown. 2 days and nights I stayed in the jail. Some stayed even longer. When I left, I was tired and sore, and my best dress was ripped, but my smile was as wide as the Mississippi River. I had made a difference. "I'm so proud of you, baby girl," Mama said. "Your march was what made them see. With nothing more than our feet, voices, and courage, we had done what others could not. Change was right around the corner. We felt it like a cool breeze in the Alabama August." On May the 10th, the great news rang out. Dr. King had reached an agreement with the white leaders of the city. Desegregation would begin. 1 month later, I was playing on a playground I had never been allowed to play on before. 2 months later, my family ate at a diner we'd never been allowed to eat in before. Our march made the difference. We children led the way. Singing the songs of freedom, 1,000 strong we came. Now, I think that's a very powerful story with lots of powerful themes in it. You might have heard that over recent days and weeks, there have been protests in parts of the world, such as especially in American cities, also some in London and Birmingham in our country, in the UK, also in Australia this weekend. And that's because even though the changes that are described in this book were positive, welcome changes, giving black people and white people no more segregation, the idea being to treat them all equally, many people feel that they are still not both treated the same, that people from black and minority ethnic groups are treated differently from white people. Some people, for example, feel that the police treat those groups of people differently. And that is why you might hear at the moment demonstrations where people feel very strongly that things need to change again, need to change even more. I'd like you to perhaps think about that for our Friday challenge this week. You can see the placards on this picture here, people holding things up. That's because they feel very strongly about something, and they're willing to go out and march and show those signs to everybody who will watch to show them how they feel. Is there something you might feel really strongly about? Something that you think other people should change their minds about? It could be anything at all. It could be something perhaps quite simple or straightforward. Maybe you don't think people should eat meat. Maybe you don't think people should drop litter. Maybe you think people should drive their cars much slower around the streets by our school. If there's something you feel strongly about, this Friday, design a placard that could be held up. I'd love to see a photo of it. You can send them in and put them on our social media pages with your parents' help. I hope you've had time to discuss some of the things that I've shared with you from this story, either in your classes with your teachers or at home with your parents. I look forward to seeing you again soon.